Okay, now let's move on. Let's examine HTML element structure. So the first thing you need to know is that all HTML files are saved with .html. That's what makes it an HTML file. So whenever you want to save, you save with .html extension or .htm extension. So let's say I want to write a new HTML file now. I'll come here, file, new file, and I'll save with .html. So let's say the name of my file, let's say it's May 20. So I'll say May20.html. Great file. So now I have my file as May20.html. So you can either save as .html or you save as .htm. That's what makes it an HTML file. So now, now let's talk about the structure of HTML file. All you need to know is that all the HTML file is essentially consisted of it comprises of elements from A to Z, from top to bottom. What you have in your HTML file are elements. Essentially, that's what you have in HTML file. So your HTML file is composed of elements, all true. You understand? So all the things you have in your HTML file are elements from top to bottom. So we need to discuss about those elements now. So the syntax of elements is like this. You have less than, greater than, and in between you write your element name. So let's say my element name is div. And after that, we now have a closing tag. Do you understand? Then you have content. So this is the structure of HTML elements. Don't forget I said HTML elements consist or is comprised, HTML file is comprised of HTML elements. All true. The only thing you find in HTML files are HTML elements. Now like I said now, an element, a single element will have an opening tag. This is called an opening tag, or they say a start tag, and you also have a closing tag, or they say an end tag. Then it will now have a content. So this div you are seeing here, in between greater than and less than, it's the opening tag. So the opening tag will stop at the greater than, and after that you now have your content, the content of the HTML element, and then you have a closing tag. So most of the time the opening tag and the closing tag, they are similar in structure. The only difference is that the closing tag, you have a forward slash, or you call it a backward slash, before the name of the element. So what you have in an opening tag is the name of the element, and in a closing tag you also have the name of the element, but before it you'll have a backward slash. So this essentially is how an element look like: an opening tag and a closing tag, or a start tag and an end tag. Now in between you have the content of the element. Now this is what the browser will now use. This is what the browser will interpret. So let's see how the browser will interpret this code now, for instance. Let's go inside our something, and let's go inside where we actually, when you want to open your HTML file, you just have to go to where it's stored on your website. So for now, it's stored in elegant site may20.html. That's where it's stored. So let's go there. Okay, let's do it this way. I want you to open a folder on your system. So let me just go through it properly. So in your system, maybe on in documents, I want you to create a new folder called front end course. Open it. And if you are using Visual Studio Code, I want you to come to File, Open Folder, then search for that folder. So we have the folder in Documents, Front End Course, and then you select. So we have all our codes here. So like I said, let's make that what's it called? If you are given this, just trust all the authors. So let's make that first file, which is I call it mate20.html. And there I said HTML, I said HTML, an HTML file. It's called an HTML file since it has the .html extension. Sometimes you might just write .html without the hell extension. And now what you have in your HTML file is what you have there are elements. So essentially your HTML file comprises of elements. An HTML file is comprised of elements all through. So now, like I said, an element consists of an opening tag and then a closing tag and then a content. So here you can see the opening tag is where you have a less than sign followed by the name of the element and then a greater than sign. So here is the opening tag. So this less than div and greater than is the opening tag. Then when you want to close it, you have the same structure, but this time around, before the name of the element, you have a forward slash. So what you are seeing here is an opening tag, and what you are seeing here is the closing tag, and whatever is in between, hmm, whatever is in between is the content of the element. So sometimes there you might hear that this is called a start tag. So some people call it a start tag instead of an opening tag, and this some people call it an end tag instead of a closing tag. So whatever is called, you know that when you want to write an element, you first start with an opening tag, which is essentially less than, it's essentially a less than, the name of the element, and then a greater than. That's your opening tag. When you are closing it, you write the same thing, but before the name of the element, you put a backward slash, and then in between, whatever you write in between will be the content of the element. So let's open this in our browser now. So you save by Control S. If you are using Visual Studio Code, if you have not saved, you will see this kind of white dot. But when you save, the white dot goes away. So let's go back to our folder. Now we have the Mate20 in our folder. So we can now open it. So since I say I'll be using Google Chrome, let me open it with Google Chrome. And so you see, now the browser interprets this as this is a div. So what we are seeing in the browser now is just the content of the element. You in the browser now, you don't have the opening tag or the closing tag in the browser. What you just have in the browser is just the content of the element. So you only have the content of the element in the browser. Let me make this side by side. Don't know why I can't make it side by side anyway. Okay, so now, so the browser use this opening tag to interpret how to display the content of the element. So essentially that's what the browser does. The browser use the name of the element which is in the opening tag, um together with some other things. The browser use that name and together with some other things that will be in the opening tag, we are coming to that, and then use it to determine how to display the content of your element. So that's what the browser. So you won't see the opening tag and you won't see the closing tag. So let's see the difference. Let's say we were to use another element. Let's say that. So now let me use another element, which is, let's use h1. H1 is also an element in HTML. So let me use the h1 element. Like I said, once you have your opening tag, you have the same thing as the closing tag, only that this time around you have a forward slash before it. So let me save it and let's run again. Okay, I think there are some things I need before this. I'm coming. Go through it. We go through it, don't worry. But for now, let me rewrite that H1 for now. And so let's open it. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. So this is where we are. So let me change this to H1, and I have to change this to H1 too. So let's see this in the browser. So you can see. So depending on your HTML uh, uh, opening tag, depending on in what's in your HTML opening tag will determine what the browser will display, or will determine how the browser will display the content of your element. So when our element is h1, when we have h1 in the opening tag, you see how the browser displays it? Bold and big fonts. So whatever you have here as your opening tag, or let's say whatever you have, yes, whatever you have in your opening tag is what the browser will use to display. Is what your browser will use to determine how to display the content of your element. Do you understand? So let's try it. Let's try another element. So this time around, I'm going to use the pre-element. So don't forget, once you have the name of your element here in the opening tag, you also have the same thing in the closing tag, but preceded by a backward slash. If I save, I go back, reload this. You see how this is written now? You understand? So essentially what I'm trying to say is that HTML file comprises of HTML elements, and each element have an opening tag and a closing tag and the content. The content is what your browser displays to the user. But the browser use the information here, the information in the opening tag, the browser use it to determine how to display the content on the browser, or how to display the content to the user. So that's it.